He's doing the floss. What is this? Mission 4, you reap what you sow. Ladies and gentlemen, here is the one way of the outfit.
Even at this moment, our fashionable city is under assault. Baggy pants, dull suits, sightings of socks with sandals.
Everybody, just on time and everything too. So first off, the game was developed by Mopeful Games, and then it was published by No More Robots. Mopeful Games, from everything that I could find, this is their very first game. So, and I will say for their very first game, they did exceptional. They did very good with this. They knew what they were doing and what they set out to do, and they accomplished it. And then No More Robots, which is the publisher, they're actually a very well-known publisher amongst the publishing world. They're not like a massively known one by gamers, but from the games that I've seen and from what I've also heard from developers, they're actually a very good publisher to work with. And they got a number of different games that I've seen, maybe nothing like major or mainstream games, but they got a lot of really good games under their belt. So I'll definitely say the team behind the game is definitely a good one. So they definitely did well there. So the game is essentially, pretty much it's a humorous retro FPS, where you fight against fashion crime using attire-enhancing weaponry. So think like old school Doom, Wolfenstein, games like that and everything, but I will say it's old school and very, very humorous. I'll touch on that in a little bit, but they definitely brought in modern day game mechanics. Like they did very well implementing that kind of stuff. So it feels retro, but they actually have some very modern day aspects of gaming into it, especially the good things. So that's where the game is finished. It's actually a completely done game and everything, potential wise. I would say that they do have just a soundtrack for it, but otherwise they don't have too much info. The game's essentially done and done. So it is ready to be played, and there you go. Honestly, I'm pretty happy with that. Now, when it comes to the graphics, it does use like the old school, like 8-bit style of graphics and whatnot, but it is used in a combination of 3D and 2D and everything very, very well. We've seen this in a lot of other kind of games like this, but honestly, it just is done very well. Several aspects of it look very good and everything, very cartoony. The gunplay and everything's good, and the design of enemies and whatnot, where you have the 2D aspect of things, but then there's also like a very 3D vibrant world you can play in. And then with the graphics and everything, it runs very smooth. Everything fits. I feel like it works very well for this style of game. So is it amazing looking? No, but obviously they set out to make it look like a 8-bit styled game, and they accomplished that. But it also has a lot of other cool visual aspects, where like coloring and stuff like that, different uses of smoke and just the weaponry and different enemy types and their attacks was used very, very well. So when it comes to the actual overall gameplay, I feel like it's a really good mix, where you have to fight different types of enemies and stuff like that. So you essentially, the progression system's really good. You unlock weapons as you play, new abilities and things like that. You have a good arsenal at your disposal, but it's also not overwhelming. It's like, it's a progression system. You just unlock another thing, then you use that. You fight new enemies that you use those weapons for. But another cool thing is that a lot of the weapons that you get a little bit later, you can actually use against earlier enemies, which is pretty cool with how they work that in. And I've only played about 3.5 hours, and I dare say I came across quite a few different things already, but I'm still not even all the way through it. And I'm still very impressed with the variety of weapons and enemy types. And that's another thing. When it comes to the gameplay and the enemy types, I feel like it's a very good variation. I don't know if there's still a lot more, but I'm pleased with what there is already. If there is more, I'd be perfectly happy with that, honestly. Because it feels like there's a good enough variety where you do have to at least think. It's not just a run around, shoot everything with one gun. Like, you have to actually pick your weapon according to the opponents and use different strategies. But the way that works and the way you move around the battlefield, or the way you're fighting everything, it works very well. And the level design is also very well done. There's a lot of gimmicks and stuff like that thrown in on the gameplay when it comes to like fighting certain enemies or the level designs. There are so many different references in this game to many other types of games or shows or all sorts of stuff. Like we came across multiple different references to like Darth Vader, and like you get all the same old gimmicks and stuff like that. Oh, you know, father, son, brother, all this kind of stuff, Family Feud and whatnot. And they mix that into the story and everything very well too, which I'll get to in just a second. But overall, the gameplay, there's a lot to it. There's a lot of neat little niche things, but it works very well, I feel like. Like, if you're actually a fan of a lot of different types of, like, genres or even different types of nerdy things out there, it definitely touches base on that. And with the game being relatively new, it's a lot of it's some things that are ranging just from a little bit ago to very old references to something. So, and honestly, you could probably think of all the major ones and even some other more niche ones that you might not really know about sometimes. So if you really know some nerdy stuff about some franchises, either other games or movies, comics, TV shows, and all that kind of stuff, you're going to find a reference that you're probably going to know, if not multiple. And that's what brings out the humorous side of it. It's very, very funny and such. And then again, just to wrap up the gameplay, it's just the different ways that you fight the enemies and everything. The fact that you're just fighting them with style, essentially. You're trying to bring style to the city. Sound design, everything, definitely really, really good. I very much enjoyed the sound design. Everything from the whip with the belt to the different gun sound effects, enemies talking, and even like the dialogue that some enemies drop here and there. All of that is very well done. The music and everything, it's all very well put together and it really fits the mood. It definitely keeps the beat going, but then at certain times it's even funny because it even plays along with the gimmick where you have like a serious moment, you have like a violin playing in the background, and they really played into that, and I feel like that works exceptionally well. So very good sound design. I thought it was all done exceptionally well. When it came to the controls, I found the controls, again, all this is pretty much on my personal preference on it, but I found the controls very easy. I didn't need to rebind anything. Honestly, they thought about their key binds and how they had it all set up on which keys you're using. And even though you can definitely go in and change them, the way that they're set up on mouse and keyboard anyway, I had no problem. I was able to pick up the movement almost instantly. There were several times that I died, but that was user error. That was just me not knowing how to fight them accordingly, which I definitely appreciate, having a little bit of a difficulty, especially with the different difficulty sliders you get. So controls and everything definitely were well optimized for the game. So you could still change them, but they were definitely made very well for how they were. The story and everything, there definitely is one, and I like it. It's up front to where it's like, okay, there is a plot, there is a story, and it is kind of the main thing for the game and whatnot, apart from the gameplay. Like, the core of the game is still the fun game mechanics and the humorous retro aspects of it. But there is actually a story, and with avoiding spoilers, you are the fashion police squad inside of the city called Trendopolis, and you are essentially fighting a crime wave of unfashion, essentially. So you got all these people walking around who are doing very unfashionable things, and you are trying to fix all that and find out what's causing all that. And it's got a pretty similar trope that you normally see in a lot of other kind of fun things where it's like, oh, you got all this stuff going on, you got like the big bad that you go fight, and then all of a sudden you find out, oh, there's another big bad, and there's another big bad, and it keeps going, kind of a thing. And that's just kind of a fun thing. It's kind of a breath of fresh air to take after all this other kind of stuff that goes on, especially in all these other games and stuff that you're starting to see with more complex things. It's kind of nice to go back to a very retro feeling thing. So this game definitely hits that nostalgia with a little bit of new stuff kind of fit in, especially with the story. And it covers all the gimmicks and everything, all the same stuff. You can see it coming, but they do it in such a funny way and they call it out that makes it humorous. And I feel like that's a really good thing. They're not just letting it sit there and saying, oh yeah, no, it's this gimmick. You know what's coming. We know what's coming. Here you go, kind of a thing. And that's what I really like about it. It really actually, it's keeping my attention. Like, it's the same old gimmicks, but at the same time, they're putting on their own twists on it that it kept my attention. Might not keep yours, but it keeps my attention. And I really enjoy that. And then I'll probably say the last thing here that I got for it, which is the replay value. Replay value would definitely be up there because all the missions are timed. There are collectibles and special swag that you can find. So I could definitely see all the missions are replayable. There's even special challenge missions that you can redo. So I could definitely see you going back, playing on other difficulties, trying to get like the best time. So honestly, there's probably a speed run for this game. I wouldn't be surprised. Like, get so many things and like get all the swag, get all the collectibles or secrets in the mission and get it under the certain amount of time. I could definitely see that happens. There's no leaderboards or anything from what I saw in the game. At least it wasn't built in, but you could still track your own time and everything like that and see how well you do. So I will say that's kind of a cool aspect. So if you're one of those achievers, look at the achievements here. There's actually a multitude of them that you could grab for yourself. And a lot of them have to do with like, okay, doing certain things certain number of times, but also getting certain times on certain things or certain missions. So I could definitely see all of that playing into the replayability if you enjoy this kind of game. And obviously, everyone's going to have a different taste on games, and you might be a kind of person that wants to play this game once through and then you're done. And that's perfectly fine. It's not going to be replayable for everybody, but if you enjoy games that are like classic FPS with a bunch of retro type stuff to it, with times and all that kind of stuff, but with very up-to-date visuals and aspects of gaming mechanics, this hits all those marks, I feel like. Honestly, it really does. So yeah, that's everything I really got without going into greater detail, but at the surface, it's a really fun game. I have been laughing or smiling pretty much 98% of the time I've been playing this game so far for the past 3.5 hours. So because of all the fun little gimmicks or things you have to do to fight enemies or the different items you get and all the kind of just over the topness and everything, and it's done well enough to where if you're a pretty big nerd, I'm not even that big of a nerd, and if you're a relatively big nerd, you're going to be grinning about some of the jokes in this. So yeah, and I'd say honestly, I mean, with everything in mind, the graphics, the gameplay, sound, controls, story, replay, even the game state and everything, it's a finished game. Like, it's actually a finished game for the price of $20. And also just the fact that the developers and the publishers are pretty dang good. I'm looking forward to seeing what else the developers might come up with. And the publishers, they're pretty well known for being really nice folks and everything and really helping their developers on stuff. So with everything in mind, I'd say it's definitely worth the price. If you can pick it up on sale, even better. And then I'd probably say that I'd probably give this game a good... trying to think if there's any kind of gripe. I don't have a gripe with the game. I can't really think of anything about the game as of right now that I would have a gripe with. I feel like it's tastefully done. I feel like it's well done. It's polished and everything. I had no issues with the gameplay, nothing at all. Yes, I died a few times, but I had the game on slightly harder difficulty. Not the hardest difficulty. I wanted to at least play the game, but it felt like there was a good challenge. The boss fights that I did actually felt like boss fights and everything, not just bullet sponges, but you had to like do it specially. And even when you're fighting groups of enemies, like if you weren't being slightly tactful about how you handled it, like the first few missions, you could just breeze on through. But the rest and everything, like it progressively ramped up and everything, really good game progress. I'm going to give the game a good, I don't know, like 9.5 out of 10 iron bars. I'm going to give it a 9.5. 100%? 10 out of 10? I don't know if I'd go quite that far. There might be some things here and there, but really, I don't have a gripe or anything like that. I'm not completely blown away, but I'm very, very pleased with this game for what it is setting out to be. So, yeah, 9.5 out of 10 iron bars from me. And yeah, it was definitely a fun time. I'm definitely going to probably keep playing it sometimes on stream whenever I need something to continue. But it also feels very easy where you could easily pick it up again. So yeah, there's my take on Fashion Police Squad. 9.5 out of 10. If you like retro games that have a lot of fun gimmick stuff in them, and it's a classic or retro FPS, then this is definitely a game for you. Like if you enjoy a lot of those kind of gimmicks and whatnot, you'll definitely enjoy it. If that's not your thing, understandable. That's not a problem. You might not enjoy it then. But even just as a classic like shooter, like very retro and stuff like that, like if you wanted to play something like the old Doom or Wolfenstein games, then this one can kind of fill that, but also have some more modernized game mechanics. So I definitely say, if you're looking for just another fun little game to pick up, and if you can pick it up for a little bit cheaper or anything, I mean, I'd still probably spend $20 on it just to play it. But yeah, everything is done exceptionally well. So yeah, there you go.